Our word today is true. True. In accordance with fact or reality, rightly or strictly so called. Genuine, as in true love. Accurate or exact. Accurately conforming to a standard or expectation. Or loyal, or faithful. Um, yeah, this etymology is so interesting. Really, really interesting. So true, truth, trust, trust, and truth share a root. And do you know what else they share a root with? Tree. Right. So, okay. So here's the thought. Let me give you a bit of the digging into this word that I've looked at today. So, true. In we have the Old English true or troe, and it goes back to Proto-Indo-European. So, by the way, I need to make a comment about this Proto-Indo-European that I keep referencing in all of these videos. So, in the 19th century, it was discovered, shall we say, that various languages across the world, Sanskrit in India, Persian, Celtic, Latin, and Germanic languages, Lithuanian, these varied languages spanning from the Atlantic seaboard, from Spain, France, Ireland, and the British Isles, all the way through Europe, through into the Middle East to Persia, to modern-day Iran, and to India, to Sanskrit. All of this vast territory, there's a myriad of languages spoken uh through these territories, yeah. Um, but what linguists noticed in the, well, presumably, this has always been the case that these patterns were there, but what linguists in the 19th century noticed was the commonalities, the similarities in certain words among these languages. And this led to the hypothesis of what's called a Proto-Indo-European language. Yeah, spanning Europe all the way to India, basically. And that there was a unified language that must have been the ancestor of these myriad tongues. And as far as I'm aware, this is a fairly solid inference. We don't have material evidence for this culture, because it would have been a long time ago. We're talking, before the Vedas were written in Sanskrit in India at the basis of the Hindu um, mythology and tradition. We're talking before Plato, of course, before the ancient Greek myths, before Homer, before Rome, before the Celtic peoples of Europe, like a long time ago, right? Prehistoric. Yeah, I think it's right to say prehistoric because we don't have like writings from this culture, and nor, as I understand it, do we have um extant sort of like archaeological sites or something like this for the culture. It's just that the existence of Proto-Indo-European is an inference made by linguists who are doing etymologies on these various languages, tracing their roots back to a more unified source and inferring that there must have been an X culture, which they term Proto-Indo-European. Now, there are hypotheses as to what culture this may have been. I think there's a fairly good theories about this, but I won't go into it. But I think the culture would have existed in the steppe near modern day Ukraine and Russia. That may have been the sort of origin point of this culture, and then it would have gone west and east and spread out. And this culture also may have invented the wheel, and thus explaining some of the chariot mythology that permeates the Hebrew, Greek, and Indian traditions. I'm not sure how Hebrew relates into this and the Semitic languages. I am, yeah, I don't know about that, but I do know, but um, I'm digressing from this truth thing quite a lot, but you know, I mean, this is important to say because in all my videos, I'm making appeals to this to this Proto-Indo-European root, and these are, as I understand it, inferences based on linguistics when we trace these roots down into the Proto-Germanic, Old English, and we go deeper and deeper, and we go into Latin, and we go deeper and deeper to find the roots. These Proto-Indo-European roots are the sort of yeah, I mean the core meaning um from which various words are derived. Okay, so enough on that. Truth. Yeah, it's such a fascinating one, this. So, okay, so it goes back to truth, truth. What did I say? I said truth, trust, tree. So, truth, trust, tree. So, true um goes back into let me just find it. Doru, yeah. Doru is Doru is the Proto-Indo-European root for the word tree, yeah. And this same root is the root for the word, like, you know, like duration, you know, like endure. Um, so there's so much of this. Let me gather my thoughts. Okay, so to endure is to be steadfast. The most steadfast, the life form that endures the most on Earth, on land, is the tree. Like, there is a tree that is about 5,000 years old, alive on the planet today. And so I was thinking about this earlier, like, you know, like what, because this would probably help with my explanation. I appreciate this one's a bit rambling. Um, so we have Proto-Indo-European Doro, and the other sort of, there's an argument here that the root word is associated with D-R-E-W, drew, as in past tense of draw, like that same sort of spelling. I drew, and drew means hard, firm, strong, or solid. So I'll say that again. Drew means hard, firm, strong, or solid. So like drew, drew. And indeed, knocking on a door is so much connected to this because doors are wood. So like the element of wood we need to think about with this. So how like interesting a little journey is this on the word truth. So we go from truth down to this root of solid, firm, hard, solid, firm, strong, hard. So just like an oak tree, okay? Just like an old tree that is steadfast, solid, firm, hard. Let's go into a little bit about trust now, yeah? Because let's just think about our experience. We're children and learn to walk, don't we? Like we don't know how to walk. We learn to walk. How do we learn to walk? We put our feet down on the solid, firm earth, and we put our feet down and we realize that we can trust in our feet and in the earth beneath us, in the in what is solid. We can trust in what is solid with our feet, and um, we learn to trust in our parents, for example, and the guidance of our parents as we grow up. And we trust and lean on that solidity, that firmness. And indeed, if we cannot trust our parents, then that can lead to deep trauma. Um, so the point is, as a developmental process, as the human being develops, trust is important. Maybe this is not new to us, this kind of insight, but it is very basic when we think of it, yeah. Learning to walking on earth, you require let me just say these words. You require this drew, this Proto-Indo-European word drew, this hardness, this firmness, this strongness, this solidness. So my feet, I can trust my feet and I can walk. Trust. Trust goes into the same root, down to drew, down to firm, solid. It's the same thing as truth and true. And so if my words are true, then you can lean on those words, so to say. You can lean your understanding on that those words. That's the same meaning. Let me give some other concrete ones. So walking, using our feet. On the feet point, you can't trust your feet on water, funnily enough, because you might just drown in the water unless you have a raft and something solid, firm in that water. You're going to drown in the water because human beings are terrestrial, that is earthbound from terra, like earth. We're terrestrial beings, yeah. We're not aquatic or aerial beings. We're terrestrial beings. And so as terrestrial beings, we need to trust our feet. Funnily enough, and just basic stuff, yeah, of course, of course, that's what it is to be a human being. But it's so interesting to me how these words are connected to some very foundational roots. So, to the idea of trust is to say that this ground beneath me is solid, is firm, is strong. It will uphold me. Yeah. It's not watery. It's not going to dissipate. It's not going to give way. It's not airy. Because again, if it's airy, imagine stepping off a cliff. You just have air beneath you, you're going to fall to the ground. It's not going to support you either, right? So you don't want air beneath your feet. You don't want water beneath your feet. You want land beneath your feet. And this is such an obvious point, of course, because we spend all of our time. It's so habitual, it's so normal to walk, but we all learned at some point to do it. And that process, presumably, is a process of trust, learning trust, not in anyone, but just a very, very basic trust, just in solidness, just like Oh, and in my feet and in solidness, yeah? In my feet, in solidness. A walking stick. Another great image for this. The rod, usually made out of wood. Let's say it's oak. Let's say it's an oak walking stick, a rod. You can lean on it. It is firm. It is solid. It is strong. You can trust in your walking stick, in your rod. It will stay true to you in that way, yeah. It will give you that firm foundation. I'm going to tie in the idea of wood again here. Wood, trees, the most enduring living forms. You see, I was thinking, like, what else could it be? It could be a rhino, it could be an elephant. Those are animals. Those are pretty enduring. If you try and they're pretty strong, they're pretty solid, and they're pretty firm. Like, if you try and move a rhino, you're gonna have a problem with that. Like, they are solid, yeah. Like, it's gonna be problematic, but they don't endure through time in the like I don't know what the lifespan of a rhino is. I'm gonna guess 30, 40 years. I might be way off there to be honest. But yeah, that was pure speculation. But yeah, like the tree, there is a tree that is almost 5,000 years old. That means, let me have a little think. That means this tree would have existed during dynastic Egypt and it's still alive today. Okay, crazy. What it and here's the thing, it's related to time too. It endured. That is to say, this tree was strong, firm, and solid through time. As time moved on, it was solid, firm, strong. This same idea is like if I give you my word, if I give you my promise, then if I'm saying you can trust me, you can truly trust me, then you trust. And if that endures through time, months, years, decades, however long, if that stays solid, firm through time, that is a bond of trust. Yeah, it's wood-like, oak-like. And here's another like super interesting one, just to like sort of bring this in, is like the word druid, which I'm guessing is another Celtic word in the English language. I recently did the video on Bard, but the druid, duration. Let me see if I can get this tree specific word. Oh yeah, it's uh DORU in the Proto-Indo-European. It just means tree. DORU. Or DREU, which is Drew, which there are theories that this is derived from the same word, meaning hard, firm, strong, solid. So the tree nymphs, the woodland nymphs of ancient Greece are called dryads, derived from this same word. Tree spirits, dryads, druids, dryads, druids, Celtic, Greek, Proto-Indo-European, Doru, tree. Tree is the idea. And so one of the things with the druid etymology, a theory with druid, is that the druid is the one who knows the oak, which I really love. Like, I love that so much. Like, the one who knows the oak is like, okay, but like connected to that idea, which might be actually indeed the same idea in a way, is like the one who's can be trusted, who speaks truth, whose word is st strong, solid, firm. It, it, you see, like it's a similar notion. Like the priest class of the ancient Celts have this association with the tree. Um, so this is just like this. I was not expecting this 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 sort of derivation. This is like like a really amazing little adventure. So we have truth, trust, and tree all basically having the same root, which means tree and or like Doru on in the Proto-Indo-European Doru or Dru. Uh, and Dru means hard, firm, strong, and Doru means tree. And a tree, like if you just go like back to your experience, like go back to what things are hard, solid, and strong, like this table in front of me made of wood is like a good walking stick is trees are. And again, I'm going to bring in that example, which I'll stop mentioning now, but the 5,000, it's about 4,000, it's nearly 5,000 years old, nearly going to celebrate its 5,000 year birthday. But like there is a tree that's like endured a long time. So, okay, let me bring in the idea of endurance now. So if a human being is patient, um, they say patience is a virtue or like endures, then this enduring is to say they're like a tree in the sense that they stand firm. They stand firm, steadfast. Stand firm, steadfast as like time and circumstance and change weathers in, they stand true. This relates, by the way, to very fundamental philosophical ideas. I would quite like to do a different series on some of these philosophical ideas. So I won't go too sort of off-piste in this video, but yeah, okay, so like the classic Platonic synthesis was between Heraclitus, who supposed that change is all, that all is flux, that everything flows, and that no man steps into the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man. Which, of course, must be true at a certain level, but I'll be careful with the use of the word true here, because if all is flux, if all is change, then do we have anything to lean on? Do we have anything that is strong and solid to say is true? Do you see what I mean? Like okay, let me stick with the thought of Heraclitus and the river of Heraclitus, the flowing water of Heraclitus. Keep that watery image in mind for a sec. Let me go. Yeah, this was well interesting. Yeah, because you see, where my mind went with some of this stuff about like Drew firmness foundation was Genesis, the creation myth in the book of Genesis, where it says at Genesis 1:2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. The earth was without form and void. Now I was like, okay, formless, void. Let me chase down the etymology of void a little bit. And void goes to the Proto-Indo-European, what does it say? It's H-W-E-H. I'm going to guess it's pronounced. But I have no idea how it's pronounced. Which means to leave, to abandon, and to give out. To leave, abandon, or give out. So I really just have the image of like constructing a hut out of wood, out of like having a tree with solid, firm foundations, constructing a great house, a great hut for a home for us to live in, yeah? Constructing that. That's trusty. That's trusty. We can trust that structure like I can trust my feet, like you can trust my words in bonds of family, friendship, tribal loyalties, and the different bonds. Like my word is firm, there is trust. You can rely on my word like it is a tree. You can rely on your feet like it is a tree. You can rely on our hut, which is literally made of wood. Um, right? So, okay, so we've got truth, trust, tree, Drew, strong, firm. Yeah. And then what did we just say about void? It means to leave. It's mad to me. So it means to leave, abandon, or give out. So it's like we leave the hut, we abandon the hut, or the slats of the hut sort of give out and break out and break. Um, it doesn't hold firm. It isn't strong. This is what the root of the word void means. So what's my point? Oh yeah, we were going to Heraclitus. Okay, we're going to talk about Heraclitus because Heraclitus, if man does not stand in the same river twice because all is flux and he is not the same man, it is not the same river, then it's like reality is, well, it's hard to even talk about there anything being reality because there is nothing firm, solid. The prevailing image in the philosophy of Heraclitus is like water. And when Genesis says darkness was on the face of the deep, the allusion there, as I understand it, is to a watery, oceanic void, a formless, watery nothing is the principal image it evokes in my mind. Especially when you think that the deep, like the deepest places, the deepest deep on this earth is like the Mariana Trench, the depths of the ocean, the watery depths. Okay, so Heraclitus, water, formless watery depths, river, change flux, insubstantial. Yeah. And then we have this idea of truth, and this is where we bring in Parmenides, who was another pre-Socratic philosopher, and Parmenides is like, actually, there is no such thing as change. Like so he's like going the opposite way of Heraclitus. He's just like, actually, all there is what is. He's saying all reality is all there is, and uh, change or nothing isn't. So the Parmenidean point, and this is why he's the father of ontology or the study of uh, being, is that he's like, well, the way I would say it in the context of this truth and trust stuff, let me get up the definition again. Yeah. Remember the Proto-Indo-European from truth and true. Truth and true and trust is hard, firm, strong, solid. Parmenides is just saying being is hard, solid, firm. What is the firm place for my ontology. And if you say something is not, then it is not. Like it has no foundation. It is not. It is not. So he denies the possibility of negation in that sense. He's like, all that is. It's the Parmenidean point. Anyway, as I said, I don't want to get too lost in the philosophy, but the point here is that Plato, the way I sort of see this actually, is that and it's interesting the imagery sort of swirling around in my mind with these different words is that we have a terrestrial image for truth, um, truth and trust, terrestrial like a tree, truth, trust, tree on land, and then we have like the watery chaos, which is associated with the void. To leave, abandon, to give out, it even says. So it's like the foundation gives out and it sort of falls into disrepair, chaos. Yeah. Now, the point is that to say anything about anything, to say something is true, is we need some kind of thing to lean on as solid, firm. And indeed, even to say that there is no truth, as is a kind of postmodern fashion, I suppose, is implicitly invoking the idea of truth in the sense of if I say like there is no truth, there is nothing that you is strong, firm, and that you can lean on in this etymology we're looking at, there's nothing you can trust, then that if that is true, if I know it's a bit of a meta point, yeah, but like if that is true, then I can't trust that. So it like self-defeats, yeah. It's like it undermines itself in the statement of it. Because if I say to you, it's a bit of like a philosophical paradox, yeah, but like if I say to you like um uh there is no truth or like nothing can be trusted, then it's like um then it would basically be this formless and void, watery thing, where there is no firmness or foundation to um to put our mind, let's say, to trust in, to lean in. But the problem with that is that in order for you to believe that, to uh to trust in the truth that there is no truth, you would have to think that at least that was true. Like you would have to have that as your foundation. You see, you'd have to trust at least that there is no truth. Okay. Because you have to trust in that to get to the point of saying there's no truth. But then if you're trusting in that, then at least that is true. So it can't be true, if you see what I'm saying. Um, so it's really interesting to me because like if it were true that there were no truth, then we wouldn't say anything. Like words would be nothing. It would be like rootless in that way, yeah. Like it wouldn't like there would be no, I'm gonna do this again. There would be no like firmness, solidity to our words at all. So you couldn't even agree with the idea that there is no truth because you need the idea that there's no truth has to be firm for you to lean on that, for you to trust in that, for you to believe in that. That has to be firm. Otherwise, we basically just don't have any grip on anything. This idea of grips, probably another tangent, might be interesting though. Like, like what I'm sort of suggesting is that like there's a way in which truth is associated with, I want to say like friction. And the phenomenologist Max Scheler thinks that reality comes into being through resistance, like friction resistance. In other words, if you um if there were pure light without surfaces which uh resist that pure light, we would not see anything. The visual field would collapse because there would be no centers of resistance, no light and dark, no shades, no color, no texture, etc. All of this, all of these are centers of resistance, centers of friction. Um, and if that didn't exist, if it was purely fluid, and I'm going to use this fluid, watery, void-like, flux-like imagery because I think the Genesis stuff's really helpful. I think the Heraclitus imagery is helpful. This watery flux. And it's also helpful to just think that you can't actually stand on water in that way. Yeah. Like it's not firm, it's not solid. It's actually like the stuff that isn't that, the stuff that isn't true in that way. Like if we're chasing the root of truth and trust down to firmness, solidness, oak, then water is just not that. Now, like um I think there's some research suggesting that whales might have language. So I would really be interested what kind of conception of truth whales might have if they did have it. I mean, who knows really, like what the degree of intelligence with whales and stuff like that. But like it would be interesting to me, like because obviously there's no like analogy of the tree in for an aquatic being, is there? Um, but I suppose there might be centers of resistance in terms of other living beings and such like that. But where am I going with all this? Okay, so let me tie up a few things. Heraclitus, watery, aquatic, river, all is flux. Parmenides, being is all, change is impossible. Nothing is not. Okay, so we can only speak about what is present being. They're at variance. You have like the being of Parmenides, the flux of Heraclitus, and basically I see this as I'm sort of suggesting methodologically is as like a tree, as like a tree and water. And Plato, what he does famously with his philosophical synthesis is he takes these and he is the realm of being and becoming. Okay. And he says that like knowledge is when uh is like the presence of being in becoming. It's like the again, like the centers of what is not changing and fluxing, what is not the river that always changes and we're never the same river and we're never the same person. The being is what's not that. Waving my arm here. But like it's like that is the philosophy. It's like you have the realm of becoming, which is like a formless void because there is nothing to grip on or to say of pure flux, pure formless flux. And so if we're going to say anything, we have to say, there's something underlying these phenomenal appearances. There's something, and here's the thing, enduring. And again, enduring shares the same root with our friends truth, trust, tree. And let me get the root up again for enduring is the Latin durus, Durus, and again, I mean, there's alternative derivations for this duration. I think some suggestions are that it has to do with the idea of long or long distance or far. But another plausible derivation is this word that we've been exploring today, or this Proto-Indo-European root called drew, fast, strong, drew, firm, strong, fast, like steadfast, etc. This wood-like, tree-like connotation, yeah, because like the tree that's almost 5,000 years old is like that center of being through time, through flux. 5,000 years have gone by. 5,000 years have gone by, these cycles of time, and the tree has remained steadfast. So the tree is a symbol for us, an image for us that stands firm at the basis of our language, of our conceptions of truth, trust, um, and the word tree and endurance, the idea of enduring through time. And so just as the tree stands firm, like so it is with truth. So like if I promise you something, If I say, if I give you my word, as they say, you know, I give you my word, and then through time, I stay true to that word, that means again, here's the flux, here's the word I've given, and the being, and through this flux, you can see that it's like conforming to, or like you can see like the presence of being in this flux, if you see what I'm saying, with my word. That means you can trust me. And that means I'm true to my word. And again, like a tree, like an oak, deeply rooted, enduring through flux, through time. Being a source and center of being, not becoming, with my word. And this is central to all human relationships, of course. This can this trust can be broken, it can be violated, and in the same way that trust is like a building of a wooden hut in the woods, abandoning or sort of leaving, or like that wood structure breaking down, is like it's void, it's formless, it ceases to be a center of being, ceases to be something I can stand on, really like stand on, lean on with my mind, soul, like I can trust in. I cannot trust in it anymore. It is not a source of being. It is not like an art. And again, like that's a whole other you know, like tangent, but like Noah's Ark, the flood. The flood is only a problem to terrestrial beings. Like if we were fish, the flood would be pretty cool because, like, you know, that's our home, water. But human beings are terrestrial, thus the flood is destructive, and the ark is, of course, wrought of wood. In the Genesis narrative, it is a wooden ark, and it is a trusty vessel, a trusty and true tree. It's a trusty and true tree, really. Like like the ark is a trusty and true tree, and all churches, by the way, are. I don't know if I want to say all churches. I think that is true though. Like a lot of, let me just cautiously say, like most Western churches, like the church buildings, the architectural form of them is in the form of an ark. So again, we have this like center of being, enduring through time, through becoming, through centuries, through massive social change and upheaval. This building, this arc, remains steadfast, true. So I should probably wrap it up, but I'm really excited about this one. We have so this is also the basis of philosophy too. Like philosophy is like the philosophia is like the love of wisdom. Could also say the love of truth, and so like it's like the search for this firm, solid foundation. And it's very interesting to me that there's like this terrestrial analogy between the tree that endures, the druid who knows the oak, the solidity, the firmness of a thing as it endures through time, the firmness of the ground. And I know like this is something so trivial, like you're like, why is Sam talking about like the fact that like the ground doesn't fall beneath our feet? Well, like it's kind of a big deal. Like when we learn to grow, like when we grow, like and we learn to walk because we can't walk originally. We develop that possibility, yeah. We're developing trust in the solidity of the earth. It's kind of a big deal. And then it's like we develop that same trust in the solidity of mother, father, brother, sister, friend, etc. Like in the same way that we trust our feet, we trust other people. Um, this basic trust gives us foundational sense of the truth. This is before any philosophy, any reflective, contemplative, intellectual stuff on top of it, there is just a foundation, a deposit of trust in our soul. We trust our feet, we trust other people, and that trust can be broken, it can be violated. It's quite unusual for the earth to give way. I'm sure there's places on Earth like quicksand or like what is it? The tar pits in like California. Like probably don't want to be standing on those because that's pr like the Earth gives way sometimes. And you don't want to be standing on water or like sheets of ice and stuff like that. It does literally give way. So, but it's like I don't know. It's not something I've experienced a lot, but like, people do walk on earth that is not firm and cannot be trusted. So that's something to just know, like the earth beneath your feet is not always trusted. It is for the most part, but it's not always to be trusted. But yeah, so we learn to trust our feet, trust the earth as solid. And this trusting of the earth, of solid, is kind of like a foundation for our trust. And also trusting mother as solid, trusting father as solid, trusting brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandparents, friends, etc. Starting with this core of trust, expanding our core of trust. Yeah. And this core of trust, this deposit of trust, this gift, dare I say, of trust is like so fundamental to our development and to the formation of our identity, really. And so the pursuit of truth, like the philosophical pursuit of truth, is like related to this. It's analogous to this. It's saying like, what thoughts, what ideas uh can be trusted, are solid in the same way, are tree-like in the same way. And the best way to conceptualize that is like as non-watery, non-wavy, non-flux like, not non-void like, really, and are solid. And that's the essence of Platonism, really. And that Platonic synthesis is the foundation for all philosophy. Alfred North Whitehead famously said that the entire was like the entire Western tradition or the entire philosophical tradition could be seen as a series of footnotes to Plato. And I'm inclined to believe, I'm inclined to see that statement as true because, as I hopefully showed about this whole thing of like, if I say to you, there is no truth, I deny truth. I say, there is none. Truth, fiction, illusory. Then you have to trust or think at least that that is true, which negates the truth of that. Um, it's like we have to stand somewhere. We have to find something firm, foundational. Um, it's hard to dispense with truth in that sense. In the same way that it's like, I suppose, in a similar way to saying it's hard to dispense with the earth beneath our feet. It's like be pretty hard to be a human being without that. Is sort of a similar thing to truth. Is like, yeah, it's sort of like foundational. I mean, there are those that deny truth, of course, but hopefully, I've shown the sort of self-undermining of such a claim. Um, I've really enjoyed this one. I think there's probably more to say. I should probably wrap it up though. Yeah, I just have like loads of like images, like the walking stick, the rod, the ark. Oh yeah, okay. So there was. I'll wrap it up with this one, which is like the tree. is a very old symbol, and it's a very foundational symbol in the Western tradition. Of course, we have a tree in Genesis. In the creation of Adam and Eve, it is the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil that are placed by God in Eden. Yeah. So that's just interesting too, yeah, like how Eden or paradise, the well-watered place, is has trees. Like it has trees, and the trees are like mythologically at the center of it. And there's something with the serpent who I think is in the tree classically, like the serpent's in the tree, and I don't know. I think that might take us into a bit of a different area, but there's interesting stuff with that, like the associations with Eden, the garden, full of trees, truth, trust, faith. I haven't mentioned faith, but it's sort of analogous to some of this stuff. The idea of trust and the serpent who. What does the serpent do? Like undermine, put doubts in, question our trust in God's creation, in Eden, in these trees, figuratively, like, and their fruit and their good fruit. Like, well, actually, we're not supposed to eat of it, says the myth. So, yeah, I don't know. It probably takes us a bit too far afield to talk about some of that stuff, but it's like a big one. Like you have Yggdrasil, the world tree in the Norse myths. Like trees come up a lot, yeah, and it's because I think they're types of endurance and steadfastness and trust. Um, trees are older built trees are older beings in a really interesting way. They're bigger than human beings. They kind of look like human beings. Like, well, they kind of do. Like they're vertical at least. Like, and the human being is not horizontal like a lot of animals, but is vertical. So there is like an analogy, and they're like bigger than humans. I don't know. And they incline to the light. They reach to the light. Anyway, I should that's some reflections on trees. But I mean, there's something about the serpent in the Genesis myth undermining trust and truth at a fundamental level. Let me just like leave that thought, because this is how Satan, the deceiver, is conceptualized in the major monotheisms. The deceiver, the one who deceives, misleads, undermines trust, undermines truth, etc. So it's sort of the inverse of that pattern. Um, yeah, so thank you for listening. That was a super fascinating sort of journey. I would love to hear any thoughts on this video. If you liked it, give it a like, please. And if you enjoy the content and you'd like to stay around, do subscribe. I've got a little Discord server for discussion, which I might put an invite link in the video for. But yeah, thanks for listening, and see you next time.